I spent $20,000 on a family vacation to Hawaii, hoping to create lasting memories with my loved ones. But at the airport, my son said, "I forgot to buy you a ticket. Just head home." From the very beginning, they had planned to leave me behind. 3 weeks later, when they returned, their expressions froze at the sight of a man in a suit standing beside me. Someone prepared to turn their world upside down. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and comment below with the yay. "Current time where you are. Dad, I've got some bad news." Simon's voice cut through the terminal noise. I stopped walking, my rolling suitcase hitting my leg. Ahead of us stretched the Hawaiian Airlines counter, crowded with families and colorful flower leis. "What kind of bad news?" I asked, though his tone already made my stomach tighten. Simon avoided my eyes, staring instead at the departure, bored, hands shoved into his pockets. "I forgot to buy your ticket." The words lingered in the air. Around us, travelers rushed forward, laughing and chatting about beaches and luau's, their joy suddenly feeling cruel. "You forgot?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. "Simon, we've been planning this trip for 3 months. I know. He glanced at me briefly. "There was just so much to handle, and work has been crazy." "I gave you $20,000, I reminded him, the figure heavy on my tongue. "For all of us." "Right. And we're grateful, Dad." Simon checked his watch, then looked toward the gates. "But boarding starts soon, and—" I didn't wait for him to finish. I pulled my suitcase forward, determined. This had to be a mistake I could fix. "Excuse me," I said to the woman at the counter. Her blue uniform was crisp, her smile polite. "I need to check what flights are available to Honolulu today." "Of course, sir. What's the name on the reservation?" "Lee Willis. But there might be an issue with my booking," she typed quickly, then paused. Her smile faltered. "I'm not finding any reservation under that name, sir. Are you sure it was booked with Hawaiian Airlines?" My chest tightened. "It has to be there, my family—" I turned, but Simon had stepped away, pacing near security. "Let me run." "A broader search," the agent offered. "What dates?" "Today. My son and his family should already have tickets." She nodded, typing again. The screen reflected in her glasses. "I see a reservation for Simon Willis, party of 4, departing at 4:15. But there's no Lee Willis on the booking." The terminal tilted. "That's impossible. Check again." "I've checked twice. Would you like me to see if we can place you on standby?" A spark of hope flickered. "Yes, anything." "I'm sorry, sir, but we're completely booked today. There's a convention in Honolulu." "What about tomorrow? First class. I'll pay whatever it takes." Simon appeared suddenly, gripping my arm. "Dad, we need to talk." "Not now." I shook him off. "I'm sorting this out." "No, you're not." His grip tightened, pulling me aside. The agent looked uneasy. Other passengers stared. A child pointed at my suitcase, which had tipped over when Simon pulled me back. "What do you mean this isn't going to work?" I asked, steadying my bag. "There must be another airline, another flight." "Dad, listen," Simon said sharply, a tone I'd never heard from him before. "The vacation is today. My family is already through security. Then we'll find a way to get me there." "No." His voice was firm, final. "We won't." The departure board flashed final. Boarding call in red letters. "Simon, you're scaring me." "What's going on?" He checked his watch again, impatient. "What's going on is, you need to go home, Dad. We'll manage the trip without you." "Manage?" My voice cracked. "I paid for everything. The hotel, the car rental, the activities, and—" "We appreciate that," he said flatly. "But standing here arguing isn't helping." The terminal's air conditioning hummed overhead, yet I felt hot and dizzy. Months of planning, $20,000, family dinners discussing snorkeling and sunset cruises, reduced to this. "Just go home," Simon repeated, backing toward security. "We'll call you from the hotel." That's when I saw it in his eyes. Not guilt, not panic, relief. Simon turned and walked away, vanishing into the crowd like he had planned this moment all along. The counter became my only anchor. I returned to the same agent who recognized me immediately. "Sir, were you able to resolve things with your family? Actually, can you check something?" My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "The reservation under Simon Willis. When was it booked?" She hesitated, then typed. "It was made 6 weeks ago. Party of 4. 2 adults, 2 children." 6 weeks ago. My mind reeled. Not 3 months back when we first discussed it. Not last week when Simon said he was finalizing everything. 6 weeks ago, he had already decided I wouldn't be part of it. "No changes were made?" I pressed. "No, sir. The reservation has stayed the same." My legs felt weak. I clung to the counter's edge, the cool metal steadying me. "What? About other airlines? Anything to Honolulu? Today? Tomorrow? This week?" She checked again, her expression sympathetic. "It's convention season. United has a waiting list of 47. Alaska is booked solid until next Tuesday." Next Tuesday? The words were bitter. By then, the trip would already be half over. "There is one possibility," the agent said quietly. "Southwest has a red-eye tonight, with 2 stops. You'd arrive Thursday afternoon, but it's costly without advance booking." "How costly?" $1,800. I reached for my wallet, then paused. In the distance, I could see the gate for the Hawaiian flight. Simon was likely there already, texting Fern that everything was under control. The problem of me had been solved. "Sir?" The agent's voice sounded distant. "He knew," I muttered, more to myself than to her. "He knew all along. I'm sorry." She looked at me with genuine concern, and suddenly I felt embarrassed. This wasn't her fault. This was family business, uncomfortable truths best kept private. "The flight," I asked. "Is it still boarding?" Final call was 10 minutes ago. They're probably closing the doors now. As if on cue, the announcement came. Hawaiian Airlines Flight 447 to Honolulu is now closed for boarding. All ticketed passengers should be on board. I turned toward the gate. From where I stood, I could see the last few families rushing down the corridor, children tugging bags, parents hurrying toward their vacation. My phone buzzed. A text from Simon. "Sorry, Dad. We'll call from the hotel. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself." As if I were some burden he had finally put aside. The agent cleared her throat gently. "About that Southwest flight, sir. Would you like me to hold it while you decide?" I stared at my phone screen. No explanation, no real apology. Just a quick dismissal after taking $20,000 in months of my anticipation. "No," I said, sliding the phone into my pocket. "No, I don't think so." "Are you sure? I can hold it for 15 minutes. "I'm sure." Because in that moment, surrounded by the smell of coffee and the sound of rolling luggage, I understood something. This wasn't about a forgotten ticket, poor planning, or even Simon's selfishness. This was about who they believed I was and how they thought they could treat me. The departure board updated again. Hawaiian Flight 447 departed. Simon and his family were already airborne, probably celebrating the trip they felt they deserved. Picked up my suitcase and walked toward the exit. But I wasn't defeated. Every step away from that gate brought clarity. They believed I would quietly accept being left behind. They were wrong. The automatic doors opened, and I stepped into the afternoon air, already considering my next move. Behind me, the terminal hummed with travelers heading to their destinations. I had mine too. It just wasn't the one they expected. The taxi line was longer than I thought, but I didn't mind. It gave me time to think, to let the truth settle, like dust in still water. "Where to?" the driver asked as I loaded my suitcase into the trunk. He looked tired, worn from airport traffic all day. "Oakland, Montclair District." I settled into the back seat, my phone still glowing with Simon's careless text. As we pulled away from SFO, I stared out over the Bay Area. The peninsula stretched below, dotted with homes where families sat down together, making plans, not excluding their own father. "Rough day?" the driver asked, glancing at me in the mirror. "Getting rougher by the minute." I normally didn't talk to strangers, but the anonymity of a taxi made it easier. "Ever have your family turn on you?" He gave a humorless laugh. "Brother, I've got ex-wives who've been planning my downfall for years. Families, the ones who know exactly where to aim. Aim. That's exactly what it felt like. Sharp, deliberate, and meant to cut deep. As we drove through Daly City, I began replaying conversations from the past few months. In March, when I first mentioned wanting to do something special for the grandkids, Simon's quick response: "Dad, that's a great idea. Leave everything to me." In April, we sat around Fern's dining table, looking at hotel brochures. Pearl was nearly bouncing in her chair. "Oh, Lee, this is so generous of you." Sol nodded along quietly, not saying much but appearing supportive. Looking back now, the signs were there. Simon insisted on handling all the bookings himself. Fern casually suggested I might prefer staying at a separate hotel so the kids wouldn't disturb me. Pearl remarked that older folks sometimes prefer different activities. Subtle hints, conditioning me to expect separation from the start. "You know what the worst part is?" I asked the driver, watching his reflection. "What's that?" "They thought I'd just accept it. Roll over and keep quiet." "You planning to prove them wrong?" As the Bay Bridge came into view, its cables forming sharp lines against the sky, I answered, "I'm 68. I worked 43 years as an engineer. I raised a son who now treats me like I'm a fool, but I didn't come this far by letting people walk over me." The driver chuckled. "Now you're talking sense." My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Fern. "So sorry about the mix-up, Dad Willis. We'll bring you back something nice from Hawaii." A mix-up? As if this were some clerical mistake rather than a deliberate exclusion. I thought about the $20,000 I had wired to Simon 6 weeks earlier. He had convinced me it would be simpler if he booked everything. I trusted him completely, and he used it against me. But as we exited onto Highway 24, heading toward my empty house in the hills, something shifted inside. The pain was still there, sharp and fresh, but beneath it was something harder, building pressure like water behind a dam. They wanted to treat me as a weak old man, easy to discard. They wanted my money, but not my presence. Fine. But they were about to learn this old man wasn't finished yet. The taxi pulled into my driveway as the sun sank behind the Oakland hills. The house looked just as I had left it 3 hours earlier, neat, quiet, prepared for a trip I would not take, but I wasn't the same man who had locked that door full of excitement. "That'll be 40 cents, 50, the driver said. I handed him $60. "Keep the change, and thanks for the talk." "Whatever you're planning," he said with a grin. "I hope they deserve it." As his taillights faded, I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a number I hadn't called in months. Bruce Harland, my lawyer. If Simon wanted to play games with $20,000, then we could play games too. But first, I had research to do. The key turned in my front door with its familiar click, but the house felt different. I rolled my suitcase inside, its wheels catching on the doormat Martha and I had bought 20 years ago. Tonight, I should have been packing for Hawaii. Instead, I was unpacking from nowhere. I changed into a cardigan and old cotton pants. The kind Simon always teased made me look like a professor. Tonight, that felt right. I had studying to do. My office sat as I'd left it. Martha's oak desk by the window, filing cabinets lined neatly against the wall. Everything organized, everything in place, unlike my family. From the second drawer, I pulled out the folder labeled Hawaii 2025 in my careful handwriting. I spread the contents across the desk, 23 documents, each one a piece of trust that had been broken. Travel agency invoice, $20,000 transferred to Simon's account 6 weeks ago. Hotel confirmation, Grand Wea, Ocean View Suites, 7 guests, 10 nights. I counted the names, Simon, Fern, Pearl, Sol, Mia, Ethan, and Martha Willis. Martha, my wife, gone for 3 years. They had entered her name instead of mine. The reservation I paid for didn't even include me. My hand trembled as I picked up the hotel brochure. Pictures of sunsets, families in clear water, generations gathered at long tables, everything we had discussed in those planning sessions. "Dad, you'll love the ocean view suite," Simon had said. "The kids will make such wonderful memories," Fern had added. All lies. I reached for the old landline, not my cell phone, the one Martha had always insisted we keep. This moment needed something more solid than wireless convenience. Directory assistance connected me to the Grand Way Resort. Reservations. This is Co. "How may I assist you?" Her voice carried that polished Hawaiian warmth, the kind perfected in hospitality training. "I need to cancel a reservation under the name Willis." "One moment." "Yes, I see a booking for 7 guests. Check in tomorrow." "Ocean View Suites, 10 nights. Are you sure you want to cancel? It's a beautiful time of year here." "I'm sure. May I ask why? Perhaps I could suggest other options. Different rooms, shorter stays. No alternatives. Cancel everything." A pause, the sound of typing. "Mr. Willis, canceling this close to arrival comes with penalties. The total fee would be $3,200, less than what I spend on gas in a year." "That's fine. Are you certain? It's a large reservation." "Perhaps if you spoke with our manager, cancel it now." More typing. A printer hummed. "The cancellation is processed. You'll receive confirmation by email within the hour. Anything else I can help you with?" "Yes." "When the guests arrive tomorrow, what will you tell them?" I would state that the primary booking party canceled at 6:47 p.m. Pacific Time, May 15th. Perfect. Simon would know exactly when I acted, and that it was intentional. "Thank you, Co. You've been very helpful." I hung up and looked at the papers scattered across my desk. In the corner, a framed photo from last Christmas. Simon, Fern, the kids, Pearl and Saul gathered around my tree, opening gifts I'd paid for, eating food I'd provided, all smiling at the generous old fool. That generosity was finished. Morning light came through my curtains differently. For the first time since this trip was planned, I had slept deeply. No lists, no worries, no anticipation. Just rest. I showered, dressed, and went to the kitchen. The old percolator gurgled on the counter, filling the house with the familiar coffee aroma Martha and I had shared for decades. My phone sat charging, showing missed calls. I ignored them as I poured coffee and added cream. Some conversations needed patience. Finally, I picked it up. 56 missed calls, all from Hawaii. The call log told the story. 11:47 p.m., then 11:52, then 12:03, every 15 minutes through the night. Simon had been awake the entire time, panicked. The texts matched. "Dad, urgent. Hotel says you canceled everything. This isn't funny. Call back. Kids are crying. We have nowhere to go." The timestamps told me they'd arrived at the resort around 3 p.m. Hawaii time, 6 p.m. California, just as I was hanging up with Co. They would have walked up to the front desk, eager after a long trip, only to be told they had no rooms. I carried my coffee to the armchair by the window. Outside, my neighbor walked his golden retriever. Same route, same time, every morning for 12 years. A normal Tuesday for everyone else. The phone buzzed again. Another Hawaii number. I let it ring. Then voicemail. "Dad, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but fix this now. We spent the night in the lobby. Pearl's crying. The kids are confused. This is cruel and unnecessary, and not like you. Call me back. Cruel and unnecessary. Strong words from someone who had left me stranded at an airport." The coffee tasted perfect. I scrolled to Simon's number. My finger hovered over the green button. 6 weeks of planning. $20,000 transferred without hesitation. 3 months of talk about snorkeling, luau's, and teaching Mia to surf. all carefully arranged to leave me out. Simon wanted to talk now, after 56 calls. Perfect. I had things to say too. I pressed call. Simon answered instantly. Dad, finally. What is going on? The hotel says you cancelled our entire reservation. His voice was so loud I had to hold the phone away. Behind him, Fern muttered about a disaster, and one of the kids was crying. Well, hello, Simon. How's the vacation? Don't play games. We have nowhere to stay. Do you even realize what you've done? I reached for the notepad Martha used to keep by the phone. Some talks needed records. I understand exactly. Tell me, when you planned to leave me at the airport, where did you expect I'd spend my vacation? Silence. Background voices lowered. Dad, that was different. This is about innocent kids. Innocent kids? Where were they when you excluded me after taking $20,000? That's not the same. I wrote down the time, 8:03 a.m. California, 5:03 Hawaii. His voice was tired, cracked from a sleepless night. Help me see the difference, son. The difference is we're stuck here with no hotel, no money, and kids who don't understand why their trip is ruined. Interesting. Yesterday you told me to just go home when I was stranded. What changed? Fern's voice came louder in the background. Simon, tell him about the credit cards. Credit cards? I wrote it down. Dad, we can't afford another hotel. Everything's booked. We put the whole trip on credit, expecting to pay it off with different plans. You mean with my money, while I sat home like a discarded piece of furniture? Stop exaggerating. This isn't about you. It's about Pearl and the kids. It became about me the moment you took my money and left me behind. Simon's voice hardened. Fine. You want to play tough? When I'm back in California, you'll regret this. You think you can control this family with money? I wrote it down word for word. You'll regret this. Simon, are you threatening me? I'm telling you, actions have consequences, old man. Old man. I wrote that down. You're right about consequences. The result of betraying trust is that trust disappears. This is ridiculous. You're punishing children just because you're upset. I'm reminding adults that taking $20,000 and leaving family behind has consequences. We didn't steal anything. You gave us that money for a family vacation, which includes family. Silence followed, broken only by Pearl's voice. In the background, muttering that this was a mistake and a disaster. Simon tried a softer tone. Dad, maybe we didn't handle things well yesterday, but right now, we need to fix this. Can you call the hotel and... No. What do you... mean no? I mean the word itself, Simon. The same word I should have said yesterday when you suggested I go home and miss my own grandchildren's vacation. This is insane. You're acting vindictive. I hung up. The house grew still after his shouting. Outside, a hummingbird hovered at Martha's old feeder, wings flashing green in the morning light. I looked at my notepad. Threats, insults, financial admissions, no accountability. The phone rang again. Hawaii number. I turned it off and finished. My coffee, watching the hummingbird move with precision. Some lessons weren't taught with words. I read over Simon's threat in ink. You're going to regret this, old man. Written down, it looked even harsher than it had sounded. Martha's reading chair sat empty by the window, sunlight across the floral cushions she chose decades ago. I could almost see her there, waiting for me to ask the obvious question. What would you do, Martha? But I already knew. She never allowed anyone to push her around, even if it cost friendships or family comfort. She built her nursing career by standing up to doctors who thought women didn't belong in decision-making. Kindness is often mistaken for weakness, she used to say. Don't let people confuse the two, Lee. I had shown Simon kindness all his life, paid his tuition when he struggled, co-signed his first lease when no one else trusted him, covered mortgage, payments during multiple job changes, funded family trips, bought supplies for the grandkids, even paid medical bills when Fern needed surgery. Every act of support had been read as weakness. The office felt different now, like a place where serious choices had to be made. I opened the filing cabinet Martha had labeled so carefully. In the folder marked Financial Family Support were records of 2 decades of assistance, monthly transfers for Simon's mortgage, receipts for Mia's violin lessons and Ethan's soccer gear, medical bills for Pearl's hip replacement, contributions to college funds, holiday gifts disguised as loans, never repaid, $47,000 in just the past year. Behind Martha's emergency contact list, I found Bruce Harlan's card, Harlan and Associates, estate planning, and family law. Bruce had guided me through Martha's affairs after she passed, managing everything with precision and professionalism. He understood family duty, and he would also recognize when duty turned into exploitation. My investment portfolio sat in the bottom drawer. Decades of engineering work represented there. Property appreciation, retirement accounts, savings bonds, stock options from consulting. Simon had no idea what he stood to lose. The sun slanted across my desk as I pictured Simon in Hawaii, scrambling for hotel rooms, still believing this was just frustration he could fix with guilt or intimidation. He was about to learn the difference between temporary and permanent. I picked up the phone, Bruce's card in hand. Dialing those numbers felt like plotting a course I'd avoided for too long. Martha once told me justice isn't the same as revenge. Revenge is messy and emotional. Justice is measured, fair, and leaves lessons behind. Simon wanted to play hardball. That was fine. I'd spent decades in corporate negotiations with people who underestimated me. None made the same mistake. Twice. The phone rang twice. Bruce's receptionist answered with professional warmth. Harland and Associates, how may I help you? This is Lee Willis. I need to schedule an urgent consultation with Bruce about estate planning. The appointment was set for the next afternoon. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. I woke up clear-headed for the drive to San Francisco. Bruce's office occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower overlooking the bay. Marble, polished wood, the kind of space that charged by the hour and delivered results worth it. Lee, come. In. Bruce stood to greet me. His handshake was firm and steady. At 55, Bruce carried himself with the confidence of someone who had spent decades solving complex problems. I settled into the leather chair across from his polished desk and laid out my documentation like evidence in a case, bank statements, receipts, threatening text messages, and notes from yesterday's call. What's the situation? Bruce asked, reaching for a legal pad. My son has shown me who he truly is. I need protection from his greed. I explained everything step by step, the planned family trip, Simon's deliberate exclusion at the airport, the hotel cancellation, the dozens of desperate calls, and finally the threats when he realized I wouldn't be pressured. Bruce listened carefully, taking notes and asking precise questions that showed his experience with family disputes. How long has this financial dependence been going on? 20 years at least. I have records starting from his first mortgage, and the threats were explicit. I wrote them down word for word. I slid the notepad toward him. You're going to regret this, old man. Actions have consequences. Bruce studied it, his expression growing serious. Lee, this looks like attempted financial coercion. In California, that's grounds for disinheritance, with legal protections against challenges. Meaning if you change your will, we can structure it so Simon cannot contest it in court. The relief was tangible, as though I'd set down a heavy weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. I want him completely excluded, I said. Everything I've built should go to organizations that will actually use it for good. Bruce opened his computer. We can draft a new will naming charitable beneficiaries and including clear language on why Simon is excluded. For the next hour, we went through details. The Oakland Children's Education Foundation would receive the majority of my estate. UC Berkeley's engineering scholarships would receive a major endowment. local senior services, community programs, veterans aid, causes that mattered, overseen by people who valued stewardship. The records you've provided show a clear history of financial exploitation, Bruce said, reviewing the bank statements. Together with the threatening language, this is strong evidence for disinheritance. How long will it take? I can have everything ready by next week. We'll need witnesses, notarization, and I recommend video recording the signing to confirm your competency. Whatever it takes. Bruce leaned back, measuring his words. Lee, this is permanent. Once signed, it changes your family relationships. They changed first, I said. I'm just making it official. And you're certain? No hesitation about your grandchildren? I thought of Mia and Ethan. Innocent, yes, but children whose father would control any inheritance. They'll be better served by scholarship funds than by money their father misuses. Bruce nodded, satisfied. Then we'll move forward. I'll prepare a will that excludes Simon completely while protecting your wishes from any legal challenge. We shook hands, his grip conveying both competence and understanding. I'll call once it's ready. Walking through the marble lobby afterward, I felt lighter than I had in years. The law was on my side. Justice was being served. Simon would finally learn that actions have consequences. The elevator descended 15 floors while I processed the meeting. Real, lasting protection was in motion. The week passed peacefully, filled with routines I had neglected. Morning walks in my Oakland neighborhood, afternoons reading in Martha's chair, evening meals without interruptions from family logistics. No more constant updates from Simon. No more wondering if Pearl liked the restaurant choices or if Saul needed different activities. Just quiet, steady days while Bruce prepared the documents. Friday afternoon, the phone rang. Lee, the documents are ready. Can you come in Monday to sign? Absolutely. And yes, I'm more committed than ever. Monday morning, I returned to Bruce's office. This time, the conference room held additional people. His secretary, Mrs. Chen, and a paralegal named David. Notary stamps and forms were set neatly on the table. This is a formal will execution, Bruce explained. Everything must be witnessed and notarized to avoid future challenges. The new will lay open, 23 pages of legal language turning my anger into permanent consequences. Each section detailed Simon Willis's exclusion, the establishment of charitable trusts, and Bruce's authority as executor. Let me read the key provisions aloud, Bruce said, his voice steady with legal gravity. The testator, Lee Willis, being of sound mind and clear judgment, hereby excludes his son, Simon Willis, from any inheritance due to repeated financial exploitation and threatening behavior toward the testator. The words felt strong. Final. Furthermore, Bruce continued, the testator designates the following organizations as beneficiaries. He listed each one. The Oakland Children's Education Foundation, $400,000. UC Berkeley's Engineering Scholarships, $300,000. Senior Services, Veterans Programs, Community Development. Worthy causes run by those who valued responsibility over entitlement. Mrs. Chen adjusted her glasses. Mr. Willis, do you fully understand these provisions? Yes. And you're signing this will freely, without pressure? Completely freely. David activated a video camera. For the record, please state your name and today's date. Lee Willis, May 25th, 2025. And you are executing this will of your own free choice? I am. My signature was steady, each letter deliberate and final. Mrs. Chen and David signed as witnesses. The notary seal pressed into the paper, with authority, making everything official under California law. The original will remain in our security vault, Bruce said, handing me sealed copies. These are your records. I suggest keeping one accessible and another in a safe deposit box. When do you think they'll find out? I asked. That depends on when you decide to tell them. I tucked the envelope under my arm, its weight, feeling like protection against future manipulation. Their flight was due back Thursday afternoon. I expected they would want a family meeting to discuss what had happened. Bruce nodded. Family meetings after conflict often reveal true priorities. Outside, San Francisco carried on with its usual rhythm. Business people rushing to meetings, tourists reading maps, street performers gathering crowds. Normal life continued while mine was shifting. Driving home across the Bay Bridge, I caught Martha's favorite view of the skyline, stretched like a postcard. She would have approved of this, clean, legal, and fair. Simon had made his decision at the airport when he treated me as expendable. Now he would face the consequences. 2 weeks passed since Bruce secured the final documents in his vault. In that time, I kept my routine and mentally prepared for this moment. Bruce and I reviewed the flight details, discussed timing, and ensured readiness. Now, standing with him at the international arrivals terminal at SFO, I felt the same calm certainty that guided me through major decisions in my career. Flight 441 from Honolulu has landed, Bruce said quietly, checking his phone. They'll be through customs shortly. The leather portfolio under his arm held the documents that would finalize everything. 3 weeks of planning, legal preparation, and steady focus had led to this point. Passengers began emerging through the sliding doors marked "Nothing to declare." Families still wearing flower lace, couples carrying duty-free bags, business travelers checking phones. Then I saw them. Pearl appeared first, animatedly talking to Saul about something from the plane. Her oversized hat still bore a baggage tag, and she carried a Maui shopping bag. Saul followed, wheeling 2 large suitcases, looking quietly worn, from hours of listening. Behind them came Fern and the children. Mia wore a grass skirt over her shorts, holding a plastic ukulele, while Ethan wore a lei of artificial flowers. Both looked tired but cheerful, searching the crowd. Simon came last, checking his phone, his Hawaiian shirt loose over khaki shorts. He moved with the relaxed air of someone who thought his problems were behind him. Then Mia spotted me. "Grandpa!" She ran toward me, ukulele bouncing at her side. Ethan followed with genuine excitement. "Grandpa Lee, we missed you. Wait until you hear about the dolphins." I knelt to hug them, their arms wrapping around me with the unfiltered love only grandchildren give. For a moment, the weight of what was about to unfold pressed on me. Then I looked up and saw Simon. He had stopped walking, his relaxed demeanor gone as he noticed Bruce and the portfolio. "Dad," he said, weary. "What are you doing here?" "Welcoming you home," I answered, standing and guiding the children beside me. "How was your trip?" Fern joined him, her expression shifting from confusion to concern as she recognized Bruce's presence. Pearl, unaware of the tension, continued chatting. "Lee, what a surprise. You won't believe the luau and the resort's breakfast buffet." "Pearl," Saul interrupted softly, sensing what she didn't. "Maybe we should—" Bruce stepped forward with professional precision. "Mr. Simon Willis." His voice carried the weight of official business. Simon's face paled. Bruce extended the sealed envelope with the formality of serving papers. "Mr. Simon Willis, this is a copy of your father's revised last will and testament executed May 25th, 2025. Simon's hands shook as he accepted it. The airport sounds, announcements, luggage wheels, chatter, faded as attention turned to the document. "What is this?" Fern whispered, noting the return address. Simon broke the seal, unfolding the papers with unsteady hands. He scanned quickly, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief, then to shock, as he reached the passages on disinheritance. "This can't be real," he whispered. Fern leaned over, her face pale as she read the same words. "Lee," she said, forcing calm, "surely this can be worked out. Think about the children. They're your grandchildren." "I did think of them," I replied evenly. "That's why I paid $20,000 for their Hawaiian trip." Simon's head snapped up, anger flooding his face as the reality sank in. You can't do this. I'm your son." "Yes," I said. "The son who abandoned me at an airport and threatened me when I refused to be controlled." Pearl, finally recognizing the seriousness, asked, "Lee, what's happening? Why does everyone look upset?" Saul gently took her arm. "Pearl, maybe we should give them privacy." But Simon was not interested. "This is impossible. You can't cut off family. The law won't allow it." Bruce replied calmly, "Actually, Mr. Willis, California probate law fully supports your father's right to distribute his estate as he chooses. The documents are legally sound." "I'll contest this," Simon said loudly enough to draw glances. "This won't hold. Please." "Do," I answered. "Bruce has prepared for that. The video recording of my competency evaluation will be compelling evidence." Fern kept scanning, calculating the loss, the house, the investments, everything. "Yes, everything," Bruce confirmed. "The Oakland Children's Education Foundation and UC Berkeley's Engineering Scholarship Fund are now the primary beneficiaries." Simon crushed the papers in his fist, then smoothed them again as if that would change them. "This is madness. You're throwing away family over one argument." "One argument," I said evenly, steady in my resolve. "You took $20,000 from me, excluded me from my own grandchildren's trip, and threatened me when I resisted. That's not an argument. That's betrayal." Mia tugged on my jacket. "Grandpa, why is Daddy yelling?" I looked at her worried face, and sadness hit me. These children would one day wonder why their inheritance vanished, never realizing their father's greed had taken it from them. "Sometimes adults make choices that bring serious consequences," I told her gently. Simon grew more desperate. "We'll get lawyers. We'll prove you were manipulated, that you're not thinking clearly." Bruce calmly handed him a business card. "Any attorney you hire will receive full documentation of your father's mental competency. Just know, unnecessary lawsuits can be costly." The family stood clustered around their luggage, the memories of Hawaiian beaches already clouded by this reality. Pearl kept looking around, still not understanding the full weight of what had happened. Saul, however, understood clearly. His accounting background told him exactly how bad this was. "Simon," he said quietly, "maybe you should have thought about consequences before acting." Simon turned on him. "Don't lecture me. This affects all of us." "No," I said, firmly. "It affects those who betrayed my trust. The children are innocent. That's why I've created scholarship funds that will help children like them for years to come." Bruce closed his portfolio with finality. "Gentlemen, our business here is finished." He walked toward the exit, and I followed, leaving Simon and his family to face their new reality in the middle of the airport's cheerful chaos. Behind us, Simon's voice carried through the crowd, still arguing, still refusing to accept that some consequences are permanent. The walk through SFO's halls felt different than 3 weeks ago. Then, I had dragged my suitcase through as a confused, hurt man. Now I walked beside my attorney, with dignity restored. Bruce and I said little in the elevator. Justice didn't need commentary. "That went exactly as planned," Bruce finally said at his car. "Better," I replied. "Simon showed his true nature perfectly. No judge will overturn a will after hearing those threats." The drive home took us across the Bay Bridge as evening fell. The city lights shimmered across the water, a view Martha had always loved. I felt her presence, approving. "They'll still try to contest," Bruce said in Oakland traffic. "Let them. Every lawyer will tell them what you told me. The documents are solid." At my driveway, the porch light came on. The house looked the same as that morning, but everything felt different now that justice was complete. We shook hands. "Thank you, Bruce. You made this possible." "You did the hard work, Lee. Standing up for yourself takes courage." After his car disappeared down the street, I unlocked my door and stepped into the quiet of my home. The scent of polish, the steady tick of Martha's old clock, it felt like sanctuary. In the kitchen, I made a simple meal, scrambled eggs, toast, tea. No one else's preferences, no schedules. Just food I enjoyed, at my pace. Evening light filled the dining room, catching the family photos on the mantel, Simon's graduation, his wedding, the grandchildren through the years. They were still family, but now I could look at them without the sting of betrayal. My armchair waited by the window. I settled in with my tea, looking out at Martha's garden, still tended these past 3 years. The last weeks had changed me, from someone overlooked to someone who demanded fairness. Martha would have been proud, or maybe she would have said I had simply remembered who I was. My phone sat on the table, switched off since the airport. Simon was no doubt calling, still thinking he could negotiate. But some lessons must be learned, not taught. Tomorrow, I'd call the charities, the Oakland Children's Education Foundation, UC Berkeley's Engineering School, the Senior Services Program. Worthy causes run by grateful people who understood responsibility. My money would fund violin lessons for kids whose parents worked multiple jobs. It would buy textbooks for students who couldn't afford them. It would support seniors who'd been forgotten. Real good, instead of more vacations I wasn't invited to. The sun set over Oakland's hills, painting the room in gold and amber. Across the bay, Simon's family would still be processing. Pearl confused, Saul calculating, Fern strategizing, and Simon finally learning what consequences mean. I finished my tea as night fell. Tomorrow would bring calls, maybe legal letters, updates to accounts and investments. But tonight, I sat in my chair, in my home, with the quiet strength of a man who had reclaimed self-respect. Martha's wisdom had guided me through betrayal to resolution. Justice served, lessons made clear, the future secured. It was enough. It was complete. It was mine. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thank you for watching.